Hello, my name is Zachariah Van Sliders with Old Man Gaming, and I am back with another horrible review. This one's very special, but we'll get into that in a second. First, let's go over everybody's favorite part of the show, which is the disclaimers. Number one, do this part-time, so you might hear me pause awkwardly, you might hear me clear my throat or sniffle because I'm slightly ill. I'm not going to go back and edit it because I currently don't make any money for this. Number two, I feel that games are one of the most subjective forms of art. Therefore, I will not be giving a scored review because I don't believe in them. What I will be giving is an overview of the game, the pros and the cons from my point of view, my opinion only, and then whether or not I'm going to continue to play this game past the review. Finally, I don't get a ton of time with these games, so this is not a super in-depth review. Although I have had a lot of time with this game, more than I should have with anything. I have only had so much time with it in the last couple of weeks. So I urge you to seek out more in-depth reviews if you do not think that I cover enough of it, but this is kind of more of an everyman snapshot of the game. And the game we are looking at today, which I am sure you have figured out from the video you are seeing before you, is Anthem. Not just Anthem in general, because that came out 2019, February. This is Anthem a year later. I decided to go out and pick up a copy for dirt cheap, because it's dirt cheap now. And I wanted to take a look at it again. Why did I want to take a look at it again? Well, this game inspired me to start this channel, even though I do not do this anymore. We've definitely shifted towards, podcasts and reviews and build videos. Originally, I tried to do a very narrative-driven sort of channel. And Anthem kind of spurred me to do that in the beginning, because I loved Anthem so much. I wanted to share it with people. It has its flaws. We're going to go into that. And a lot of them haven't gotten much better. But the reason for this review is, there's not a lot out right now that's new. So I thought, why not pick this up dirt cheap, see where it is nearly a year later, see if it's made any progress, if it's worth going back to, if it's worth anybody else checking it out. So, overview. Okay, quick overview is this game is a fantasy world. You are on this different, it's not even a different planet, it's just a different Earth type thing. Humanity uses these power armor suits called javelins to fly out and do kind of borderline fantasy stuff, fight monsters, fight big beasts and whatnot, as well as other people in armored suits, outlaws, weird bug creatures called scars, all sorts of stuff like that. The world is actually really well done. I felt like there's some great world building in the game. You actually transition between these first-person view type things where you're walking around as yourself in a hub city to when you go out in the Javelin, you become third person. You can go out in the Javelin in free play mode, which is just kind of the entirety of the map. You fly around getting into world events and other stuff, kind of like Destiny. Then there's also expeditions, contracts and such, which are usually 3 random little missions put together. Then you go out, you do those missions in rapid succession, and then you get rewards and come back. Then taper in strongholds, which are kind of like this game's raids. They're not anywhere near the scale of a Destiny raid, but they're the big challenging events that you have to do with 4 people. The basic idea is, your average MMO looter shooter. You go out, you do these missions, you try and collect loot, you come back, and then you use that loot to create special builds for your javelins. There are 4 different types of javelins: the big Colossus, artillery, the versatile ranger, who's a little bit of everything, the interceptor, which is all speed and melee, and then the storm, which is kind of like your mage type suit, just hurls big elemental effects from the background. Okay, that's the simple overview. I don't want to get too in depth because it's been a year later, most people know what Anthem is. What I want to get into is what's different about it a year later, and unfortunately not a whole lot. We'll get into it in the pros and cons, but it's very similar to what you've played before. They've added some new ways to loot hunt, some new ways to get better loot, which is good. We'll talk about that in the pros. They've also started to pepper in these season events, which kind of change expeditions. They give minor environmental changes to the map, like right now, when I started in, you had snow. It wasn't snow before, so there's all these snow-related events. And then usually what they also add in is these kind of weird inversion multipliers to the stronghold seasonal events. And then this goes into a rotation between the 4 strongholds, and each one has timed sections that you get points for doing certain things during that time section, which makes it very interesting, puts a new spin on it, and I enjoyed that. We'll get more into that in the pros. Okay, so wrapping up what I need to say about the overview is a couple other things that you should know. Is this game is, you can play it alone, but it's designed to always be played with other people. In other words, naturally, unless you make some setting changes, whenever you log into an expedition, like a contract or a stronghold, you will immediately matchmake to try and find 3 other players to play with you. In free play, when you go into a free play, it is always open, and other players can join that, and you will join somebody else's, that sort of thing. And then finally, you are encouraged to build your javelin higher and higher, and then up your difficulty when you go into anything. You get to set the difficulty that you're going into. There's easy, normal, hard. Then there's Grandmaster 1, 2, and 3. The idea is get to Grandmaster as fast as possible, like get a javelin that can deal with it. All the enemies become more difficult and more bullet spongy, but you get better rewards for going into that sort of thing. Something you should know, I played Grandmaster 2 almost exclusively through this review time. I probably should be on Grandmaster 3 by now, but my mechs, I had walked away from the game for some time, so my javelins, were not at a level where I could just go in and do Grandmaster 3. So let's get into the pros. Talked a little bit too long on the overview anyway. Number 1 pro. Couple of things that they have changed about this. Now, something you need to know that was a con from the previous I know it's in the pros, but we need to do this. The big problem with Anthem is that you get to a point, with any games as service game, you need content. You need stuff that people just keep having to do, that doesn't get bored, that doesn't get samey, even if it is samey. Destiny has a really great way is really great at making you do the same things, but in a different order, and that makes you feel like you're doing something new each time. Borderlands gives you that loot shower every time, so even though you're doing the same thing every time, you're getting these crazy amounts of loot. This game has neither, and that was a problem. It was a big problem. The loot is just not there. Without the loot being there, you get bored real fast of the same events over and over and over again and not getting anything worth it. You can grind through them just constantly and not get the legendaries that you need to create the builds that you want. So, what have they done to correct this? Unfortunately, not a whole lot. I'm very sad to say that I didn't see a whole lot of changes. However, it's something we need to get into the cons. We're still in the pros. Pros, they did do a couple of things. Number 1, they made it so that the seasonal events all give you some sort of weird crystal. For 5,000 of these crystals, you can go into the store and purchase a legendary item. You don't know what you're going to get from that legendary item. It could be a support module, it could be a weapon, it could be, like an ordnance launcher, something crazy, but you can specifically purchase one for a specific javelin if that's what you're trying to build out, and then, yeah, it's random, but you still get the legendary. There's a way to directly earn the legendary, and that was a big problem before, is that you could run a stronghold 7 times, never get a legendary, and on the highest setting. So, that is nice. There is a dedicated way to get legendaries. There's actually another dedicated way to get legendaries. Now you can earn these guardian tokens from doing really big, heavy events, and When you get these Guardian tokens, you can then go to the previously useless tombs of the original freelancers. You can turn in crafting supplies, which nobody needs anymore. Everybody's past that point where they need crafting supplies. You can turn that in with the Guardian token and just immediately get a legendary, which, great. There are two ways to, they're hard, but two ways to dedicatedly get legendaries, which is great. This game absolutely needed that. That is a definite pro all the way. My final pro is a pro that's been with the game the entire time, but it's worth mentioning again. The one thing that I absolutely felt wonderful logging into this game and doing again is the movement. This game, the thing that makes me the most sad about this game failing is that it has the potential to be one of the best games out there. The movement is absolutely the best in gaming today, and I'm sure that I'm going to get added for that if anybody watches this, but I stand by it. I mean, this game does so many things wrong. Movement just isn't one of them, and I tell you, it feels so good to jack into a javelin, and then to load in and then just start flying. I absolutely love it. I think it's nice and smooth. The combat is, for the most part, smooth if you don't get bugs, and that just, it's wonderful. It's a great feeling, and it kept me playing it in the beginning longer than I should have, just because I enjoyed that. And one more pro, even though I think I said the last one was the last pro, but there's going to be a lot of cons, so it needs it. They've also added a melee module. Before, your suit just had a standard melee attack. There was no way to earn any new melee attack. And while the animation for the melee attack remains the same, they have added different modules that change the properties of the melee attack, such as the Colossus, which is my main, just pounds the ground. Now there's one that you can get where it pounds and then it hits kind of this seismic wave in front of you, knocking everybody down. Or you can pound it, it does this like area of effect fire damage, etc., etc. That's really cool. I really like that. It also gives kind of another level to the builds, which are all about these combos, which I probably should have talked about in the overview, but it was going long. Basically, you can hit somebody with an elemental effect, which primes a combo, and then hit them with an impact, a detonating thing, and it does like double damage to that thing and everything around it, which is awesome. It does really feel good to hit those combos, and this gives you another way to hit those combos and another diversity in creating those combos, and that's always good. Alright, so now it's time to do it. Buckle up. We got a lot to hit. The cons. Number one, I got this game, I got home, I installed it, I booted in. The number one first mission I was on, immediately I got hit with a bug, in which my suit's arm froze to my leg, so it always looked like I was just running with one arm. This was a bug that's been around since launch. How is this still there? That's egregious. I'm sorry, I know the developers work hard, I don't mean to insult them. And I know that they work for EA, which is an uphill battle in itself. But the fact that there is a bug, that the bugs that I see in this game from the few hours of me playing it are the same ones that I saw back in February of 2019 is insane. Not only did I hit that bug, there's another bug in which, like, you'll kill bad guys and instead of them falling down and disappearing, they'll just stand solid like stone, just stand there, frozen. So I hit those bugs. Number two, another thing, it's been around since the beginning of this game, has not gotten any better, and that's the loading times. It's crazy. There's a ton of loading time, loading from Tarsus, Fort Tarsus, the hub area, into free play or into an expedition and vice versa, that it is very, very obnoxious. I loaded in today to play a 20-minute session to record for this video. It took nearly an hour because of the load time into Fort Tarsus, then then I had to load into setting on my mech, then I had to load into the expedition, then I had to load back into Fort Tarsus. Super irritating. I don't understand how they haven't made that a little bit better. Maybe they don't have the potential to do it, but either way, it's a con, and I gotta point it out. Okay, now we look at the seasonal thing. Okay, there's snow on the ground. That is not enough of a difference to be interesting to me, to keep me coming back. It's still the same 4 strongholds. It's still the same world events. It's still the same things that you do. Yes, they have made the map a little bit easier to use. Great. Yes, they have the kind of interesting stronghold inversion seasonal stuff. That's great. But it's still very base. They haven't really improved a lot of the core functionality of this game. And then let's talk about the player base. Now look, I am not a person who, like one of these people online who are just always like, the game's dead, the game's dead. I don't like to say a game is dead until servers shut down, because they're just not. I mean, how many times people say that No Man's Sky was dead and now it's still around and it's very successful? How many times they say For Honor was dead, it's still around, very successful? That seems to be the name of the game in 2019-2020. So, okay, I can't really say that this game is dead. However, that being said, it's definitely on life support. Of the 6 games that I played, I did always get a full team for the strongholds, which I did 3 of them. However, if I did anything other than a stronghold, I would rarely get placed with a full team. The first one I did, I got placed with one other person. The 2 ones after that, I got placed with no one, and I had to do it all myself. And then the final one I did, I got placed with no one, and then 3 other people joined about halfway through. That tells me that there's a player base drop-off. While they have balanced the Grandmaster stuff a little bit better than it was before, it's still, this game is all about playing with other people. It doesn't seem to be a ton of people to play with. So they have to bring some people back. Now, this brings us to the overview. This has been in the news recently, and one of the reasons I decided to go back to this is they've been talking about the relaunch. They've been talking about getting people together and relaunching sometime this year. It has to be soon, people. It has to be soon. The player base has dwindled. There is not substantial changes to this. They have not fixed some of the original bugs that were around when this game was first released, and they have to do something soon. These little seasonal jumperoos is not helping anybody. It's not even a stopgap. Again, I'm not saying this game is dead. I don't want this game to be dead. I love playing this game. I wish there was more to this game. I wish there weren't bugs in it. I wish I could proudly say I own Anthem. But right now, I've got to hide it under my coat because people will make fun of me. This game needs work, and people need to put the work in to make it better fast. There has to be something soon. The reason I say there has to be something soon is we're in a next-gen year. The new systems are going to come out soon, and this game is not going to get a next-gen upgrade or relaunch then and nobody's going to buy it unless it's already popular now, unless it already has a player base. Destiny, the original one, faced the same thing, the same problem until they hit Taken King, but I gotta be honest, they were not this far behind the ball, okay? Anthem is really behind. They need to make up some ground, and they need to get a player base back. They need to do something, and they need to do it very soon, because if this game is still in the state it is in, and that relaunch comes a month before the new systems come, this game is done. Okay, so I would love to stick with it, but please, EA, Bioware, give me a reason. Please. Alright, hope you guys like this. If you guys did, please subscribe, check out everything Old Man Gaming has to offer, and we'll be back on Wednesday with our Borderlands 330 playthrough with me and Phil Billy. And then, of course, check us out every Friday for the Horrible Gaming Podcast. Alright, as long as you guys keep listening, I'll keep making them.